Welcome back to Wellness Wave Radio. Thanks for tuning in this morning to ride the wave with us. Each week our goal is to give you at least one suggestion that will make your life a little better. My name is Phil George. I'm a clinical biochemist, a certified personal trainer, and a health coach. Please remember that everything we discuss on this show is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. So, then we start off with the first slide here, Art. Art gets ready. So there I am, okay, and I already told you that stuff. I'm on a few different networks. You back up, Art. I'm on a few different networks. I'm on WCRN. That's your radio station. That the Woo Sox Railer is Howie Carr. So that's a pretty good. I have a show there Saturday and Sunday. You can tune into that. I'm obviously on. I'm on Leicester Cable. Okay. And the next one is, okay, I'm also a member of the Nutrition Coalition, Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners, and Root Cause Protocol. As a biochemist, I just don't want to throw a drug or basically a surgery or something. I want to know what's the root cause of the problem and fix the problem at the root cause. The analogy I like to make sometimes is if you had a stream outside your house and every morning you woke up and you saw a whole bunch of garbage in the middle of the stream and it was stuck there, eventually you get sick of it, cleaning it up. You want to go upstream and see what's causing it. So unfortunately, in allopathic or Western medicine, what they talk about is something called idiopathic, which means they don't know what causes it. So they throw a drug at it or a procedure. So again, what I like to do, I like to try to basically find out when I work with clients, I try to find out what the cause of the problem is. But we already talked about the health disclaimer. Okay, I want to mention this. We're doing seminars. We just finished a bunch of seminars up at the Leicester Senior Center, and we had a lot of requests to do more seminars. So we have health seminar coming up at Route 12 Pickle, and you can email me for the address. It's right in West Boylston. And if you wind up showing up, we kind of run it like a game show. In fact, if you email me, philgeorge@charter.net, and you do show up, we're giving out gift cards to New Kitchen for new people that show up. If you bring somebody with you, we'll give them a gift card too. New Kitchen's probably the healthiest restaurant around. So if you email me, philgeorge@charter.net, let me know you're coming. We'll have a gift card waiting for you. Okay, that's the next one, Art. We run all our seminars like a Trivial Pursuit. I like to call it the Health and Nutrition Edition. So we give out prizes and things like that. We give out prizes to New Kitchen. If you answer the question correctly, we go from there too. We do a lot of different things. So it's not just a boring lecture. What we do is we ask questions, we get people involved. The first one we did, after the senior center, we had quite a few people show up, and I think they all had a good time. In fact, I'm teaming up with Kelly Hamilton. She's a ICU nurse out of UMass, and she's also a holistic nutritionist. So we hung around afterwards, almost for an hour, in fact, and answered a ton of questions. People send me emails, and I was able to follow up, and they follow up with Kelly. So you kind of get two heads for the price of one. Kelly comes at it from a clinical perspective. She still works in the ICU. I'm a little bit more theoretical. I mean, I don't work in a hospital right now. I did work in a hospital, but I'm not working right now. But obviously, all my experience and my specialty was lab work. In other words, when I see a client, the first thing I want from them is I want them to give me their lab work and let me check it out and have them basically suggest to their doctor. I suggest what they should order, which most doctors don't order. So I think you'll get a lot out of this. Again, it's not a boring lecture. It's something you can have fun and learn a lot too, hopefully. Okay, Art. So this is something brand new, and this really wasn't part of the initial presentation, but this is a very recent study. And if you know anybody that's got type 2 diabetes, or you've got type 2 diabetes, we're really able to put this into remission in many cases. If you see the top line there, in terms of the top line over there, basically no change. If you don't make any changes, nothing happens. The middle line, the little bluish green line, that's if you make some changes. and the other line shows people actually getting into remission. So there's a specific protocol for this. I'm not the only one that does this. There are a ton of people that go out and are able to do this. So you're not doomed to have type 2 diabetes. This is called the Borg scale, and it just shows that you want to basically do these type of things. This is what we like to call exercise snacks. You don't have to go to the gym. You just have to do a certain amount of activities. In fact, Art and I were just speaking about this. Is most people just sit all the time, but they never do anything. So every couple of hours, you just have to do some very specific exercises, and this is what it shows. But also, obviously, diet's a big part of this too. So those are two things. So you can get your type 2 diabetes into remission. But what happens, it's really not the problem with the sugar. What it really is, it's what they call insulin resistance. In other words, what insulin does is it puts the glucose like a key. It lets it into the cell. But if you release too much insulin because you've got bad diet, eventually the cell becomes resistant to it. You need more and more insulin. So the sooner, if you find out that your hemoglobin A1C is high or your blood sugar is really high, get on it right away. The sooner we can work with you, the better it can be. I've also changed my coaching model. Before, I felt bad. A lot of people, coaches charge money, and I charge money because my time is worth something, obviously. What I'm starting to do now is I actually will offer you free coaching. Everybody needs supplements. You either need vitamin D, you need K2, you need magnesium, you need a bunch of stuff. You're going to have to buy it anyway. I have a supplier that I use. If you buy it through me, he pays me a commission because you order it. That way I don't have to charge you anything. So you get free coaching, I get reimbursed, and you're buying it anyway. And again, I curate all of these supplements to make sure that they're legit. They're not from China or India where they have no quality control. Okay, this is actually the first seminar I ever do. So it's kind of give you a hint of kind of what it's like. So a good example is we do that. What's the definition of insanity? And actually, quite a few people in the last seminar, I asked that question, and a few of them got it right. And we give them a prize. We give them a coin. And if they collect enough coins, if you remember from the old carnival days, you have all of the stuff in the back, like the Cupid dolls and stuff like that. We have a whole table full of prizes. And if you get the most coins, you get to pick whatever prize you want. So again, it's kind of like it's a fun game. You can, if you answer that way, you get one. And the next question, the answer to that question is, if you haven't got, you can play along. You can play along at home. Well, the definition of insanity is if you do the same things over and over again and you expect different results. So the next question was, who said it? I don't think anybody got this right. So the person who said it was actually Albert Einstein. So, and then this is a quote from Albert Einstein. So if you get a two token. So that's kind of how the game works. Okay, next one, Art. Okay, this is the name of the show is 50 Years of Insanity. Right before the show, when Art was setting up in here, we were talking about it, and he says, "What do you mean 50 years of insanity?" And Art and I are about the same age, and I said, when we were in school, there was just about nobody overweight. In fact, I think Art said that what happened when he was in school, he remembered 2 people in school. I've got pictures actually on this particular slideshow showing people from the 50s at the beach. Everybody was pretty much lean. You got 1 or 2 people overweight. So really what happened is, and Art brought it up, when everything they advertise on TV is unhealthy for you. But again, and we have a lot of the fast food restaurants now. Fast food is high glycemic. It causes a lot of problems. So this started about 50 years ago, in terms of people starting to get unhealthy. Okay, Art, what do we got next? Okay, another question. A lot of people get this one right. Who was the president between 1953 and 61? Play along at home. What's your answer? And Art, the answer is? Yeah, he just yelled. He just yelled from the other room. Old people like us will remember this. So when we show it, let me show that Okay, this is what happened. This is when the whole thing started. So a lot of people don't know this, but Dwight Eisenhower was one of the most popular presidents ever. They used to call the 50s the golden age, because everything, you would leave it to Beaver. You had the father working, the mother at home, the kids are at home. Kids come home from school. The mother would, June Cleaver would make the stuff and give them healthy food. The kids were not sent off to daycare and stuff like that. So you were able to get by on a one-income household. And people could afford houses. Again, one person working supported a whole family. We can't do that anymore. So what happened is when Eisenhower suffered that heart attack, the stock market crashed. It was one of the biggest crashes ever because they didn't know what was going to happen because Eisenhower was so popular. So, okay, what's the next one, Art? Okay, nobody knows this one. Art, do you know this one? He doesn't know. Okay, who invented the K ration? Okay, next one, Art. Okay, this is Ansel Keys. And did Ansel Keys help make us fat? Yes, he did. So Ansel Keys, he developed K rations. People don't know, back like in World War I, World War II, they used to call it C rations for the sailors. He pulled up like things you could eat like in the field. You couldn't be refrigerated. You could just eat it. They used to call it K rations. So he was kind of in charge of nutrition at the time. So what he did is they hired him to figure out, because not only was Eisenhower having heart attacks, they wanted to know what was causing heart attacks. Heart attacks back in the 50s were relatively rare. Now it's the number one cause of all-cause mortality, of all deaths. Okay, what's the next one, Art? So he did something called the 7 countries study, and what he did is he looked at 7 countries that were healthy. And this is called epidemiological studies, or also called interventional studies. So what that means is they look at a lot of different people and they see what some commonality, which means what are they doing the same, and maybe that's the reason why they're healthy. This is the worst. This is the worst kind of study to do because there's a lot of what they call confounding variables. A lot of things can be different with it. And they found out later on, after this whole thing blew up and everybody got sick, they found out he cherry-picked these studies, and he only cherry-picked certain things out of it. There's another famous expression if you look in, or if you're taking courses in studies, correlation doesn't prove causation. It means because two things are related doesn't mean one actually causes the other one. But he came up basically saying that these particular countries were healthy. And what he said is the reason was they were eating too much fat and too much meat. So he demonized. Still to this day, you're going to hear that meat causes cancer, that fat causes cancer, and to eat a lot of carbs. And to this day, a lot of people still believe that. Okay, next one, Art. Remember this time too is that they told you also smoking didn't cause any problems. We know how that went. These are ads actually from the 50s. More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarettes. Okay, next one, Art. Okay, 20,000 physicians say Lucky Strikes have less irritating, and it's toasted. So again, they're having doctors that are doing this stuff. The other thing, back one slide, Art. No, back, not forward, backwards. Okay. We have the worst outcome and ratings of almost any country. You can see at the very bottom there that the USA is the worst. We're the worst. So again, the definition of insanity, what you're doing is you're following these guidelines, and obviously people are not healthy. So again, I don't know about you, but I think I am in good shape. I'm in good shape, and I go over to Art's house, and Art says to me, you know what, you can eat this, this, and this, and all of a sudden I'm gaining 5, 10, 15 pounds, and Art's telling me this is healthy for me. Art wouldn't do that. But if he did, I'd say, gee, I don't know if this is really working. Maybe I need to look at something else. Okay, Art, next slide. So again, we pay the most of any country for healthcare. So we're paying the most for the worst. Okay, we're paying the most amount of money to get the worst outcome. So Again, this is insanity. Why, it's not working. The healthcare system in this country, what they're telling you in terms of nutrition is not working. And this is shown by actually the evidence. Okay, Art, the next one. So we pay the most for the worst healthcare. Okay, next one, Art. Okay, this is a really good book. It's called Nature Wants Us to Be Fat. Now, what that means is, my good friend Jim Kane, he was on the show. Actually, we double show with him last week. He likes this. We're really smart monkeys. We're still animals. Okay, 99% of our DNA is the same as a chimpanzee. The only thing we have going for us, we have a nice big brain that we can think about. But we're still kind of driven by we need. So what happened is, this is evolutionary biology. What that means is, there's an expression in biology, nothing makes sense in biology except through the lens of evolution. So we started off, whether we, along with Neanderthals, whether we came out of monkeys, I'll leave that up to you whether you believe that or not. But anyway, we're basically animals, and we have the same needs as animals do. So we have two prime directives as an animal, as a mammal. One of them is not to die. So we don't want to die. So we're going to do what we can to basically stay alive. The other thing is to reproduce. So we want to keep the species going. So, men are looking for mates, women are looking for mates, and we want to basically procreate. So going back, you wake up in the morning, and there I am with I'm waking up and I'm saying to my wife, "Where's the breakfast?" And she says to me, "You got to go out and hunt it." Because when we didn't have food in the refrigerator, we couldn't store stuff. We didn't have that type of thing. So we had to go out there and we had to go hunt. We had to go hunt the woolly mammal and get it. Now think about this. What's the odds, especially, there we are hunting, especially in the wintertime. There's not even any plants we can get. So we got to go find something. We could go days and maybe even weeks without any food. So what happened is, when we ran across something, if we ran across like a bunch of honey from a bee's nest, or we ran across something, we're gonna gorge ourselves. We're gonna eat because we may be going days or weeks before the next meal. So our brain is hardwired to store calories. If you think about it, just like the bear. Remember the bear before he was in hibernation? He's munching at berries. He's eating salmon. He's getting nice and fat. So what we want to do, we want to store as many calories as we possibly can. That's why nature wants us to be fat. So it's not, we're hardwired for this. Our brain is hardwired for this. So people say, well, you need more discipline, you need more self-control. It's hard to overcome that because, again, we're hardwired. We want to store more and more calories. So a lot of people will say, well, what can I do about this? So there's something called basically cell metabolism and something called time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting. Now, all that means is you have to go for a period of time without eating. A good way to think about that is we sleep for 8 hours. Let me just back up. We can only be in one of two states. It can be what they call an anabolic state, like anabolic steroids, when we eat things and we grow. In other words, that's what anabolic steroids do. They make you grow. So either in a growth phase, or you have something called a catabolism or a catabolic state. That is where you're not eating anymore, and your body goes in and cleans it up. So there's another really good book called The Fat Switch. So you have a particular part of your metabolism called AMPK. You don't have to remember that, just a fancy word. All it means is it switches off and on. So all of a sudden, you're eating, and you're in a anabolic state. Your AMPK, your fat switch basically shuts off. It means I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna keep growing. Now, if you're eating 3 meals a day and you're snacking in between, you're in that anabolic state, and your AMPK your fat switch is turned off, and you keep adding more and more calories. Your fat cells get bigger and bigger and bigger. You become obese, and that's really the problem. If you go, you sleep 8 hours, hopefully. If you can go another 2 hours, well, you're not supposed to eat at least 3 hours before you go to bed because you can't sleep well. If you're eating, the blood goes into your stomach to digest the food, and it doesn't go to your brain. you're not going to be able to sleep very well because all the blood is in your stomach. So at least 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed, try to do that. If you can't do it, do 2 hours, then 2 hours and 15 minutes. Try to go 3 hours, no calories. Because those 3 hours and the 8 hours, that's 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 11 hours that you're not consuming any food. So the way it works is your body, basically, your liver stores something called glycogen. Glycogen is the storage form of glucose. It only can store so much. So at night, you're burning the glycogen, all of a sudden, no more sugar. You got no more sugar. The AMPK, the fat switch, turns on, and what it does is it starts burning your fat. So we have a tremendous amount of fat. I'm pretty lean, but I can still go a long period of time without eating. So we're going to start burning your own fat. So if you want to lose weight, simple way of doing it, all you're going to do is 3 hours before, and then also the 8 hours. That's 11 hours. That's not that hard. You know what I mean? You may have to, get used to it because maybe your stomach's growling, but eventually you'll be able to get used to it. Then, and I know you've heard breakfast is the healthiest meal of the day, or the most important meal of the day. That was actually made by Kellogg's. That was advertising. There's no science behind that. They claim the best thing to do is to skip breakfast if you can. Now, a lot of people, they love their coffee, and they like to put, cream and sugar. Obviously, if you do that, you're breaking your fast. I have something, you can email me, Phil George at Charter. I have a very good sugar substitute that tastes just like sugar. It's called stereoisomer of fructose. Tastes just like fructose, doesn't raise your insulin, does not raise your blood sugar. Email me, again, you can order from me, and it'll be shipped right to your house. So you got the 11 hours, and then if you can go, maybe go all the way to lunch, you're going a ton of time. All that time, you're burning fat. You don't need Ozempic. You don't need these GLP-1 agonists. You basically just have to follow. In fact, Art had said that. We just have to follow very, very specific things. I like to tell my clients, these are baby steps, okay? You don't have to jump off the bridge with just a little bit of time. And again, I'll work with you for free, so there's no charge. And in fact, what I found, I've teamed up with the largest diabetic clinic actually in the South, Tennessee, and actually he's going to be on my radio show eventually. And we had a Zoom meeting, and he says we can get people off, get them back to baseline, get them off the metformin, get them off the insulin. But the problem is, after a few months, they go back to their old ways. So they're going to hire me as a health coach to kind of stay on top of it. So I may check in with you once a week, maybe every couple of weeks. Do you have any questions about food, what to eat? I'll be there for you. So the whole point is to get you off the metformin, get you off the insulin, get you into remission, and then stay on track. So you don't have to go to all these drugs and stuff like that. There are natural ways of doing it. Because the GLP-1s, the Ozempic, there are side effects to those. A lot of people have a lot of stomach issues with that. And that stuff is expensive. And they found out most people don't last more than a year on that because they have so many side effects. So before you go on the drugs and pay all that money, maybe save that money, spend it on healthier food. I can help you with that. And so that's one of the things, that's one of the ways you can do it. Okay, what's the next one, Art? Okay, all right, what do you think? What's the average height of a man? 5'9", you said. And what do you think the average weight is? He said 190. Let's see what it is, Art. See if you win a prize, Art. Let's back up. Okay, so the average height of a man, you're right, is actually got it on the nose. I think of a prize, Art. So it's 5'9". The average age is 36, and the weight is 190. I happen to be 5'9", and my weight, and I weigh myself at least twice a week, my weight is consistently at 150. So the average person's weight is 40 pounds more than I am, okay? Let me just stand up, I can show you. So I'm in pretty good shape, if you can see. So I don't I got a pretty flat stomach. I don't have a lot of visceral fat, but the average man is 40 pounds heavier than I am. Okay, Rob, what about the women? Let's go back to the women, Art. You sleeping, Art? Okay. Okay, next one. Woman. Next one. Oh, we don't have it. Okay, let's go to the next slide anyway. Okay, so how do they get us addicted? I had actually on this show, remember Art, we had the food science, Dr. Miron. He's actually a PhD food scientist, and he worked for the Cargill, with the largest food supplier. So what they did with I'm not speaking for Dr. Amir, what they did with Dr. Amir is that his job, they hook up these electrodes to your brain and everything else, and they have you try different things. And they found out what gets you addicted. And they pay people to figure this out. Remember, there's that whole thing of Lay's potatoes, you can't eat just one. They find out what gets you. Remember, nature wants us to be fat. Okay, so we're hardwired. So they're paid to do it. Dr. Amir didn't feel good about this. He started his own supplement company, and he was on the show, and he talks about this. So I've had a PhD food scientist. He's been on a few of my shows, and I talk to him all the time. So back up, Art, to that other one. I like that. So you get the different parts of your taste. You get your sweet, your sour, your salty, your bitter, and your umami. That's kind of like, you know, I can't describe what it is. It's kind of like a savory. I think that's what they call it, savory. This is another question we had. Now, not many people got this one right. Okay, next one, Art. Okay, again, the Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. How many times have you opened up? There's Dr. Amir. Dr. Amir was on the show, and we had whole slides behind him. In fact, you can go to Wellness Wave Radio on YouTube, and you'll be able to see. I had a whole interview with Dr. Amir, and he talked about all of the ways they get you addicted. Okay. What are the two most addictive food, guys? Play at home. What do you think? Okay, next one, Art. See if you got it right. No, next one. Okay, French fries is number one, most addictive, because it's got the umami, it's got the salt, it's got the whole thing going on. So, you know, the whole thing to talk about McDonald's French fries and stuff like that. Art was saying before the show, I don't know how many ingredients they have in those French fries. They have canola oil, which is a seed oil. But what happens when you heat up a seed oil, you denature it, you change its chemical composition. They're finding out seed oils are really, really bad for you. So they get seed oils in there, they cook it to a very high temperature. I've had chefs on my show before, and if you've been to a restaurant, you see those fryers, and those are made with canola oil. And what happens with the canola, and a lot of times people told me they're supposed to change that canola oil every once in a while, but a lot of times they don't. So it gets more and more oxidized, and oxidation. And the second most, in case you saw it, the second most addictive is pizza. Again, it has all of those flavors that you're addicted to. So those are the two most addictive ones. The next one, Art. Okay, Kellogg's Corn Flakes was the number one selling, cereal forever. It's just been replaced by something or other. So Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, he was a Seventh-day Adventist. Now, Seventh-day Adventist, one of the reasons he developed the Corn Flakes was they believed that masturbation was a sin. Whether you believe that or not, that's up to you. But he found out by giving people certain nutrients. When I was in the service, they used to give us something called saltpeter, and what that did, it decreased your sex drive, so you wouldn't get too horny. So these are the things that they did. These foods were made for a very specific reason. Okay, next one, Art. We talked about this. If you go through basically a supermarket, you're going to see all of these cereals. They're all at eye level for the kids. So what happens, you have little kids, and they play this on TV, Captain Crunch, this, and this, and they're getting these kids. They're not marketing to the parents. They're marketing to the children. So that's really the problem. So the parents are going to give up and basically jump into that. So obviously, though these cereals are not good for you, one of the reasons now, I think they're talking about 50% of kids now are either overweight or obese. Again, because of the way they're marketing these things to kids. And again, they're looking to make money and they don't really care about your health. Okay, this is the obesity. You can see over there in terms of when it started, very low obesity rate, and then they're saying it's going up and up and up, and eventually it's going to be at least 50%. So this is all due to the foods we're eating. Okay, next one, Art. Okay, as a result of our reliance on nutrient-poor processed foods, the majority of Americans are overfed and undernourished and are running on empty. And this is by Shalane Flanagan. Next one, Art. Next one. Okay, guys, it's time to wake up. So you've got the information. And in fact, Art said this before the show. We should have recorded this, Art. He said, why don't people just wake up and realize, you don't need the Ozempic, you just need to move a little bit more and eat a little bit less. I know it sounds simplistic, but again, I deal with clients all the time. And if you got this problem, email me, philgeorge@charter.net. I can help you get off this. Because when I do my seminars, a lot of time, if I go around to people and I'll say, if I could wave a magic wand over you and make all of your illnesses, all of your aches and pains go away, how much would you pay me? Okay, most people, they're hard to come up with a price. But if I said to you, okay, this is actually Warren Buffett's in pretty good shape, but let's say Warren Buffett was not in good shape, and he's like 80 or 90 years old, whatever he is right now, and he had aches and pains. The average amount of an 80-year-old is going to have, they're going to be overweight, they're going to have arthritis, they're going to not be able to get around, they may be in diapers, they may be in this, they may be in that. But let's just say hypothetically that you're in relatively good shape, but you don't have much going on with you. And I said to you, okay, you got this 80-year-old with all these health conditions, and he has $1 billion. He'll give you the $1 billion to change places with you. He'll give you all of his illnesses, and you can have $1 billion. Would you do it? Not too many people I know would do it. What is money really worth? The mafia said your health is everything. Your health is everything. You could have the great mansion, the greatest cars, the greatest this, the greatest that. But if your health is awful, what does that mean? So your health is the most important thing. So think about that. Money can't buy you health. You have to work on it. Money can help you. It can help you buy some good stuff. But again, a lot of people say, well, I can't afford to be healthy. There used to be a sign over Whole Foods that said either you can pay now or pay later. So you can do one or the other. So we're coming up on a break. There's going to be 2 parts of this. So we're going to start this. I'm going to start the second part of this on the next show. So stay tuned, and we'll be back on the next show. See you then. One of the most common questions I'm asked as a biochemist and health coach is, what are the best supplements to take? Choosing supplements is a tricky business. Many companies have poor quality control and questionable ingredients. In the past, I had to send clients to several different websites. I am now able to offer one-stop shopping for all the quality brands I recommend with no shipping cost and a lower price in most cases. Just email me, philgeorge@charter.net, for a free consult.